Hey guys, welcome to episode number 30 of Ask Jungle Scout. I can't believe we've made it to 30 episodes. A big thank you to all of you who have been watching from the very start or been watching in for a while. We really appreciate your support and all of your questions. In fact, it's inspired a brand new session asking Greg questions live on Fridays. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of the episode. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so below. Now let's get to the first question. Channel asks, can you download Jungle Scout on an iPad Pro? Unfortunately, at this stage, mobile devices and tablets don't support Chrome extensions, so you couldn't download the Chrome extension on an iPad. However, we do have some exciting things in the pipeline, and a bit later this year, we are actually supporting functionality for the Jungle Scout web app on an iPad or tablets. So stay tuned for updates on that. Jean Paul asks, what could we be doing to prepare for the Amazon Australia opening? Company registration or any other type of registration in Australia, etc. So I'm going to assume that you're an Australian looking to capitalize the new market that's coming, and perhaps you've never sold anything before on Amazon. One of the best things that I'd recommend is getting started now in another marketplace. So start selling a product in the US. It's invaluable experience setting up that first listing, working with manufacturers in China, sending your product over and just going through that entire process. You're going to learn a lot from that, and that's going to benefit you when you have the opportunity to do the same thing in the Australian market. It's difficult to know at this stage what products to sell in Australia because we don't have that sort of historical sales data. So what I'd recommend is turning to things like eBay Australia and seeing what are some of the best-selling items there. You can actually click on listings, and quite often it will tell you how many have been sold in the last day or the last hour. So that's a really cool way to sort of gauge the demand for these products. Also look at retail catalogs, see what things are on special, see, often the best-selling products will be marketed at the front. So just kind of look around you and just see what's selling in sort of the physical world, but also the online world. They are a little bit different. Not everything that sells at an actual brick and mortar retail store is gonna sell as well online. So I would just have the mindset of always looking for product ideas. I would be jotting down lots of potential ideas, perhaps talking to people about what products they try to source online. One of the things I notice in Australia is that there's a lot of kind of niche items that are hard to get online, or certainly without having expensive shipping costs or getting it from overseas and so forth. I think those are the kinds of products that are going to do well in Australia because now they're going to be readily available within a couple of days, or a lot easier and probably a lot cheaper. So I would just keep brainstorming ideas. I hope that gives you a couple of tips on things that you could be doing now. The thing to remember is, whilst you certainly want to be an early adopter into Amazon Australia, there's still going to be so much opportunity for years to come. So you definitely want to be an early adopter, but there still is going to be so much opportunity for quite a few years to come. In terms of company registration and that side of things, I'm not the best person to speak about that. You should be able to just sell as an individual when you first start out. And a lot of the time I recommend that until you start making some money and you've got your product launched and doing some regular sales. It's probably not absolutely necessary to start out with a company. However, if you have more capital, then you might want to do that from the very beginning. The best thing to do would be to kind of sit down with a consultant, look at the different tax advantages and so forth, and kind of plan out what the best steps are for you. Red Blue Music asks, how would you start an Amazon business if you had access to significant capital? Would you do anything different than the usual advice for starting a business on a low capital budget? So the biggest thing I would do differently here is just launch more products. If I had substantial capital, rather than just launching one, I might launch 4 or 5 of the top products I've been looking at. Generally, for a lot of products, I would say 1,000 inventory is probably a good amount, is a good sort of sweet spot. You don't want to order too much inventory, but you do need enough to survive for a couple of months, allow for some promotional giveaways, and have enough there to last you until you get your next shipment in. Maybe you would send in 1,000 units of your main product, and then maybe 600 to 750 or something of all of your other products. These are really all hypothetical numbers depending on the products you're choosing, but essentially I would launch more products at once. It means you're just going to be able to scale your business faster. A lot of the things that we talk about, the strategy that you would use would be more or less the same. It's just the timeline in which you do it will move along a lot quicker. On the other hand, one of the nice things about starting out with just the one product is that you're going to be sort of ironing out all the little kinks and making little mistakes here and there, and it's all invaluable experience just going through the process that first time. And then you can sort of apply that on your subsequent products, and those launches are probably going to do better. When you launch all your products at once, you do have that slight disadvantage that you might be making some of those mistakes at the start. But if I did have access to capital, I would still prefer to do it that way. As I mentioned, you will scale and grow faster. And by having a number of products, you're sort of diversifying or spreading the risk out amongst those products. So that's probably the big difference here. Mo asks, highlighted, when calculating FBA fees, does Amazon measure the dimensions of the product itself or the dimensions of the packaging carton the product comes in? So they definitely base their fees off of the packaging dimensions, not the product itself. So keep that in mind. The other thing to note as well is that Amazon seems to round up the numbers. I think it could be like the nearest inch or something like that. So I would keep that in mind. If you're approaching the next tier, say from standard to oversize, I would make sure that you're well under, say, an inch below that. I would give yourself just a little bit extra leeway, because if you're maybe 13.5 inches, they might round you up to 14. So that's one observation that I would keep in mind. Diego asks, I sell from Australia in Amazon US and I have 3 listings that can't be sold anymore in Amazon due to a new ASTM testing requirement. We understand we can request removal of the inventory, but with the Amazon FBA fees, the cost would be significant. Is there any way to get a bulk removal order done by Amazon FBA or any other recommendation? Firstly, just to clarify, when you're doing a removal order from Amazon, I don't believe you have Amazon FBA fees, but there are removal fees. So I just want to clarify that so everyone understands. When you want to remove your inventory from Amazon, there are removal fees, which is basically a shipping fee to send it out from Amazon. Unfortunately, there's no real way to avoid these fees. That's just the cost of business, I'm afraid. But one other recommendation is I would look into liquidating your stock. You've generally got 3 options. You can either ship your products out of Amazon, or you can dispose of them where you pay a fee and Amazon will destroy the product. That's kind of a worst case scenario. Then the other option is to liquidate it, where essentially you're selling your product at a cheap price, basically like wholesale price, to Amazon, and then they will sell it. So what I would do is I would compare the costs of shipping it out of Amazon versus how much you would get by liquidating the product. While you might get less money by liquidating the product, at least it's kind of done. If you ship the product out of Amazon, you still have all of that inventory. And so the question would be, do you have a plan to get rid of it? Are you going to sell it on eBay or sell it through some other channel? You still are stuck with that inventory if you're just trying to get rid of it. So I would essentially work out how much you would get back from those 2 scenarios and see which one is going to end up better financially or which one is going to be easier for you in the long run. Jenny asks, to determine if the product is competitive or not, people will indicate using the number of reviews. I found a product, the number of reviews for the first 10 listings are all around 200 reviews, but the estimated sales for them are all over 1,000 per month. Is this product too competitive? Since if I want to make my product show on the first page, I have to have over 1,000 sales per month. So this is an interesting question. Let's make some assumptions to begin with. So we're looking at a particular niche, the top 10 listings, no more than 200 reviews in all of those. So it ticks the box that we normally talk about in terms of being competitive. All the numbers of reviews are fairly low. Now, in terms of the sales, all of those top 10 listings have more than 1,000 in demand. So that's actually really high. In most cases, we talk about how, that's a great thing, having so much demand for your product. You've got high demand and low reviews, which is exactly what you want. Now, what Jenny is talking about here in her question is referring to a strategy that we've shared for launching your product. Let's say you're going up against listings that are doing, say, 15 sales per day. What you could do is run a promotional giveaway where you discount your product and you match the number of sales that those listings are getting on the first page. So you're, say, doing 15 giveaways per day. And let's say you do that for a couple of weeks so that you're matching the sales volume that, you know, those particular listings are getting. And if you do that for long enough, let's say a couple of weeks, then you'll have a good chance of being ranked up there and hopefully spark some other natural organic sales as well. So this leads to the question, can there be too much demand? So if all the listings in this particular scenario are getting over 1,000 sales per month, that's like 30 sales a day. Now, if you wanted to use that promotional giveaway strategy that we talked about before, then you would need to be giving away 30 units per day and for a good amount of time in order to, spike your listing and kind of get, ranked up high in the top 10. But essentially, no, I don't think there's ever a time where you can have too much demand. It's fantastic. It sounds like a great niche with such low competition and all the listings have really high numbers. Yes, it would be really hard to match that number of sales by doing promotional giveaway, but I don't think you would necessarily have to do that. Even just doing a smaller giveaway would start to get you ranked higher. Okay, you could. I still believe it's possible, even though it would be hard to match that exact number of sales. And the thing is, if all the top 10 listings are doing over 1,000 in sales, then I would say that, after that top 10 listings, there are still sales to be had lower down the page. There possibly a sale still in page 2 or a sub niche of that product. So to sum up, yes, I would still absolutely go for a product like that if it matches what we talked about, low reviews and high sales. The only time that I would recommend against high sales is if it was only the first or second listing. As long as those sales are spread out, then I would go for it. So that wraps up all the questions for today, guys. I hope you got some value from those answers. Make sure to give us a big thumbs up below this video if you have. Also, I mentioned at the start that we've got a brand new session, Q&A with Greg, live here on YouTube on Fridays. So I encourage you to subscribe to our channel so that you get notified when he goes live. In fact, we're going to be switching to that format for a while, so definitely make sure you check out those live streams. You're still going to see me here on the channel sharing lots of other content. So thanks for your support. All the very best, guys, and I'll see you next time.